Welcome back, everybody. This is David Zere. You are watching Breaking Point on Real America's Voice News, Dish Network, Channel 219, Pluto.tv, Channel 240, and we have a really great guest again with us. We are very honored to have him back on the show. We have the Prime Minister of East Turkestan in exile, Salih Hudayar. How are you, sir?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Very, very well. It's really great to have you back. I know we spoke last year about the turmoil and the plight of the Uyghurs and other ethnic groups in East Turkestan by the Chinese government. And you've been very outspoken recently about the UN's decision to accept countries like China and Russia on the Human Rights Commission, correct?
Yes. Unfortunately, the United Nations General Assembly has elected authoritarian regimes engaging in mass human rights violations. China specifically is engaging in genocide. And essentially, this designation or appointment has given China the green light to further continue its genocide and other atrocities.
Yeah, I was really disturbed by some videos I've seen over the last several months of Uyghurs being put on trains and sent off to concentration-style camps, right? So can you give us a little history again of the plight of the Uyghurs, and why is China doing this, and are they exploiting the Uyghurs for labor?
Yes, so East Turkestan is the homeland of the Uyghurs and other Turkic peoples like Kazakhs, Kyrgyz, and Uzbeks. The Uyghurs have a history of over 6,000 years. And in 1949, the Chinese communists invaded the former East Turkestan Republic and occupied East Turkestan. Over the past 71 years, China has been engaging in effectively a campaign of colonization, genocide, and occupation. Following the fall of the Soviet Union, China felt that, seeing the Central Asian countries get its independence, this inspired us to push for ours, and China felt that this as a security threat and has seen, locking up millions of people in concentration camps, forcing our women to marry Chinese men, separating millions of, over 500,000 children from their families, bringing in millions of Chinese settlers as a final solution to this problem. In recent years, they have been using Uyghurs and other Turkic peoples as slave labor to produce everything from T-shirts to Nike shoes to electronic components that are being used by Apple, Samsung, and other tech companies.
So I found it outrageous that, the UN has always been like a shill for the Soviet Union, for the past 60, 70 years. In my opinion. And I can't believe the U.S. funds the UN, more than any other country. It's really crazy. Like a country like Russia, the former Soviet Union, who've killed millions of their own people and sent people in exile in Siberia and rip you out of your house in the middle of the night under the guise that you have psychological issues, and they take you away from your family because you bought a refrigerator, like under the communist system back in the day. And in China, they've been very hurtful to their own people. And, with Mao and everybody else, they've killed tens of millions of their own people. Is anybody listening to you about your criticism of them joining the Human Rights Commission? Do you have any support?
Yes, we have gotten some coverage on this issue. A lot of countries, like the United States, including Secretary Pompeo, has criticized this move as well by the United States. Electing China to, the UN Human Rights Council is like putting up, Nazi Germany and Hitler on the UN Human Rights Council. Like the United Nations was created after World War II to, promote international peace and cooperation and, improve human rights across the world. It was created, as a result of, the international community failing to respond to, the Nazi Germans. And now you see the Chinese Nazis, as I like to call them, being put, giving a position on the UN Human Rights Council, on the UN Security Council, and completely spreading corruption and its authoritarian ideals within the UN system.
Right. So let me ask you a question here. I've read reports about forced sterilization of Uyghurs and possible organ harvesting. Is there any truth to that?
Absolutely. So the Chinese government has a long policy of, trying to prevent our population from growing. From 1979 to 2009, they stated that they prevented the, quote, 3.7 million illegal births within East Turkestan. In recent years, they've forced hundreds of thousands of Uyghur women to, get forcible sterilization. They're also trying to make it look like they're paying people to voluntarily get forcible sterilization. As far as organ harvesting goes, initially they would target the harvested organs of political prisoners. However, in recent years, the organ market has been booming, and so they're selecting, certain individuals because they collected the DNA samples of over 36 million people in East Turkestan, according to Xing. And you have special lanes at airports that says for organ transplants only, and shows that the organ harvesting in East Turkestan is actually booming as a result of the Chinese government's mass internment of millions of people.
Is there any headway being made within the Chinese government against the CHICOM's policies? Do you have allies inside of China? Do things look better for the movement?
No, unfortunately not. The Chinese government, our problem is not just with the Chinese communists. Previous administrations of the Chinese government, like the Chinese nationalists, also wanted to invade and occupy East Turkestan and colonize it. And so in terms of like the overall Chinese people's view on East Turkestan, they view East Turkestan as a part of China, even though the fact that they renamed it to Xinjiang, meaning the new territory, right, and they want to maintain control.
So tell our viewers where they can follow you, where can they get behind this movement to help you and to bring light to it in the United States about the oppression of your people?
They can follow me on Twitter at Salih Hudayar, and then from there they can follow us on ETGE.gov, visit our website east-turkestan.net to learn the latest information about East Turkestan and how people can help.
And who in the U.S. government, has the Trump administration been, involved and out? I know Mike Pompeo came out, which was great, about the Human Rights Commission and China joining them. Has anyone else in the United States government or in the administration been have a sympathetic ear to your cause?
The Trump administration has been by far the most sympathetic government that administration across the world as a whole, but especially in the United States. 3 years ago, for example, no one knew much about East Turkestan. No one knew much about the Uyghurs, even though the atrocities were still ongoing at that time as well. But the Trump administration has done quite a lot. Secretary Pompeo has been raising the issue internationally. The president this past summer signed the Uyghur Human Rights Policy Act into law. The administration is currently seriously considering recognizing the atrocities as a genocide, which is something that we have been pushing for the past several years.
Has and we have about a minute left. Just one last question. Has any of the Arab or Muslim governments like Erdogan changed their view on this and have been assisting the cause?
No, unfortunately not. I mean, Turkey just recently, on October 1st, they did issue a weak statement. But in terms of, taking any actual actions like recognizing the atrocities or even sanctioning Chinese officials like the way the U.S. has done. That no other country has done that yet.
All right, so everybody, we have the Prime Minister of East Turkestan in exile, Salih Hudayar. I want to thank you so much for joining us, and we will give this as much coverage as we can and spread the word.
Thank you for having me.
You're
God
very
bless.
welcome. So everybody, this is David Zere. You are watching Breaking Point on America's Voice, on Real America's Voice.